Good day, YouTube. My name is Colin. This is the channel Financial Success, and today's video is about how my wife and I were able to pay off our mortgage in under 3 years. Okay, thanks for tuning in. Now, the purpose of this video is not just to brag or boast about how I did something and accomplished something that I was proud of, good about. All that is true, but that's really not the intent of this video. It is to hopefully explain some concepts and help you understand how this is possible. I'll start off by saying that my wife and I were just normal middle-class people. I'm a government worker and she is a social worker. And hopefully you'll understand how you can get yourself in a position to maybe you don't pay it off as quickly as we did, but you pay it off a lot quicker than you ever thought you could. Now, this probably is not a good video if you have a bunch of credit card debt. If you have a bunch of auto loans and that type of thing, you're probably better off focusing on that stuff before you worry about your mortgage. Just going to put that out there. That's probably going to be a higher priority. But if you're at a point where you're not worried about a bunch of credit card debt or other type of student loan debt or that type of thing, and you want to focus on being mortgage free, which is something a lot of people just don't think that they could ever get to a point, in the foreseeable future. I'm here to tell you, you can very easily, I shouldn't say very easily, but it's a lot easier than you think it is to be mortgage free, and you can do it a lot sooner than you probably think you can. Now, the first thing you got to look at is you got to buy a house that's in your price range. And what does that mean? It's a tough thing to really quantify as far as what is in your price range, but I would for sure say you have 20% of that house in your savings ready to be put down so that you're not paying primary mortgage insurance and you're able to just buy that house without using an FHA loan. So you're just buying it under a conventional loan and putting 20% down. If you can do that, that's probably one of the things I'll put out there as a strong indicator that it's a house that you can actually afford. Now, the other thing is, don't be so fixated on what is the biggest, most expensive house I can get for my budget. I feel like that's just such a dangerous mode of thinking that leads people to just be financially insecure for so many years. You'll see what you can get approved for, and you'll think, wow, and you'll start looking at houses in that price range, and it's crazy because you'll start to expect and think that you want to live in a house like that, when in actuality those big houses probably aren't what you need for your family size, and they might be a lot bigger, but are they really going to make you feel happier in life, be more fulfilled, or are they really going to just drag you down and leave you more financially insecure? Really think about that when looking at a house. So that's number one. So the first thing we got to do, number one, you're buying a house that's well within your price range that you can comfortably afford. Number two, this is another big one. You're aggressively making extra payments on that house. Now, you get a 15-year mortgage. It doesn't mean you have to pay the mortgage off in 15 years. You can make extra payments and pay that mortgage off quite a bit quicker, or even 30 years. You can make extra payments. You'll end up paying out that mortgage a lot quicker. So there's a couple things you can do when you make extra payments. And this is very important to point out because this is kind of a mistake I made that I had to quickly correct when my wife and I were making extra payments on our mortgage. You can make extra monthly payments, or you can make principal-only payments. Okay? There's a big difference. Now, the extra payment means, so it's October this month, and if I want to make an extra payment, I just go ahead and put an extra couple $1,000s in, and it will pay next month's. So that means I'll pay off, I've paid off this month for October, I'll pay off next month's, but I'll also be paying next month's interest and all those other fees that go along with it. Now, when you make a principal-only payment, I could pay, so say my mortgage is $1,500. I pay $1,500 for this month's mortgage, and then I go back a week later, and I put another $2,000 of principal-only payments. That means my principal drops roughly $2,000, and I'm not paying any extra interest. And the latter, the principal-only payments, are what you really want to focus on if you really want to get out of your mortgage a lot earlier. Those are what's really going to help you do that. And there's a website I'm going to recommend you go to. It's called mortgagecalculator.org. Again, that's mortgagecalculator.org, and I'll put that somewhere below, either in a description or a comment, so you can actually see that. I'll put the full link actually to what I want you to look at, and that is mortgagecalculator.org/calculator/what if I pay more calculator.php. And again, I'll put this all in below in writing so you can copy and paste it. And I really want you to look at this calculator and play around with it, because you'll see that you can literally pay 50 extra a month, 100 extra a month, and it will still make a significant difference in the terms of the mortgage. It'll show you how much less money you're actually going to pay, A, and B, how many years less of a mortgage you're going to have. So go ahead and please, if nothing else, go to that website. And that's really going to help illustrate and help you get more information about your specific situation and what's going to be most beneficial to you, what you can afford, and what it's going to mean for your overall financial security and overall financial health in the long run. Again, we're thinking long term when we're looking at mortgage payments. We're not thinking about, with a boat I can afford this year. We're thinking about where I'm going to be financially throughout my life, and maybe in 5 years, how much better off you're going to be than you are today. That type of mindset is just going to be so much more healthy for your financial well-being if you can start thinking in longer terms, not instant gratification. In general, that's probably another key takeaway, is having a mindset of thinking overall long-term financial health, not short-term gratification. So now the big question: how did my wife and I pay off our mortgage so quickly? And it was about 2.5 to 3 years, somewhere in there. I don't remember the exact amount, but it's not exactly important, because I punched in the numbers again into this mortgagecalculator.org in order to get the figures. Now, we bought our house. We did the first part. Can you buy a house you can afford? So we bought our house, and it was just under $200,000. And this was in 2009, which was pretty much the bottom of the housing market. So you're not always going to have such an pristine opportunity to buy houses. This was at a time when everybody said, don't buy a house, it's the dumbest thing ever, they're all foreclosing, the housing market is garbage. Everybody thought it was going to keep dropping, and we bought anyways, and it just so happened when it rebounded. Most people, or a lot of people, could see that there's no way houses can just drop forever. There was a big market correction. A lot of you guys probably know what happened with all of the bad mortgages that were issued prior to the housing market crash, and what got us into that position. So we came in at a good time. Our house, we bought a pretty nice house, and we got it for a steal. Most of our neighbors didn't, nobody else on our block got a house for under $200,000. We got it for $185,000, which was a steal. Again, I'll say it was a steal. But the other side of that was we had saved up about $60,000, so we only had a mortgage. And actually, it's probably more than that, more about $65,000. And part of this was because, we were in our early 20s. We were just getting married. I had decided to move back in with my parents for a couple years so I could save up money in anticipation of having to buy a house. So we put about $65,000 on a $185,000 house. So we had a mortgage of roughly $120,000. Now we did a 15-year mortgage, which was roughly, if I memory serves me correct, it was about 4% of an interest rate. Most months, I want to say we put, what I did was whatever we had extra money, we had an emergency fund, and then whatever we had extra floating around, whatever we could afford to put into the mortgage, we put into the mortgage. We weren't buying a lot of stocks other than our investments in retirement, just the Roth IRAs and things like that. Other than that, we were putting in excess money into our mortgage. Now we were also, that we weren't, I don't want people to think that we were living on beans and rice. We were going out to eat, did a few vacations and that kind of thing, but just not really buying a new car or things like that. We were able to put in roughly $3,000. I want to say an average month was maybe we put $3,000 extra into the mortgage. This might sound like a lot to some of you, but it was about what we could afford. Some of you maybe do more, some of you maybe this doesn't seem realistic, but I'm just telling you what we did. So we were able to put about $3,000 extra a month into it. So at a consistent extra $3,000 a month, rather than paying roughly $900 a month, we paid roughly $3,887 a month. So the total monthly payments that we paid on this $120,000 loan was $126,836 and 85 cents. So not even $7,000 in interest, which to me still seems like we wasted $7,000, but compared to if we had done no extra payments, we would have paid close to $160,000 and would have paid about an extra $40,000 in extra payments over the course of 15 years. So right out of there, right out of, if nothing else you take from this, we saved roughly, over $30,000 by doing this, and that's over the course of a lifetime. If you think about how much don't just think about 30,000, but those of you who watch this channel, hopefully you're also into investing and that type of thing. Think of how much money that $30,000 makes over the course of our lives in terms of compounding and all the interest that could be gained off that money. So definitely a big thing to point out there is the amount of money that's saved. Now, it took a 15-year mortgage and it knocks it down to 2 years and 9 months. So that, as you can see, putting that extra $3,000 a month into that payment gets the mortgage paid off in well under 3 years. So we were still in our 20s and we had our house paid off by following roughly this exact formula, and saved 12 years and 3 months of having a mortgage payment. So there you have it. You can follow exactly what we did to the T and pay off your mortgage. Otherwise, if you just stick to, I hope this illustrates for you how, if nothing else, I don't know if you're going to follow exactly what we did exactly to the T and get your mortgage paid off in 2 years and 9 months, but if you stick to the two things that we stuck to, which were buying a house that was well within our price range, what we felt our price range is, not what the bank told us our price range was, and making those extra payments, and you just see how much money is saved. And if you just understand those two concepts, hopefully it's something that you can well afford, and you're going to commit yourself to putting these mortgage-only payments. Now, not every month are you going to be able to do it. You might have a month where your car breaks down and your washing machine breaks and you have to pay some money for that. We had a hot water breakdown. In that month, maybe you only put $500 extra into it. Maybe you don't put any extra money into it at all because you just had a lot of expenses that month. That's okay. You can pick up again next month and keep paying. You're still going to get your mortgage paid off quickly if you stick to the two concepts that we talked about, which, number one, buying a house well within your price range, and number two, sticking to making extra monthly principal only payments. If you can see this illustration, this is a real life illustration on how my wife and I were able to do this. Hopefully, if you stick to these concepts and you stick to making those extra payments, you can do something similar and get yourself to sheer financial freedom and get yourself to a place where you own your house outright and you don't have monthly expenses and you have so much more money to spend on investing or whatever else you want to spend it on. Hopefully this was beneficial to you. If you enjoyed it, if you found something, if you learned something from it, or it was just fun to watch, go ahead, give me a like. Feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching another installment of Financial Success.